and welcome to Soma Gold's live corporate update webinar. This is Paul Amputis from RBMG. Soma Gold is publicly listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange Venture under the symbol SOMA and on the OTCQB under the symbol SMAGF. Joining us today is the company's chairman, Geoffrey Hampson, and CEO, Javier Cordova. We'll go through Soma's presentation, including updates on recent drill results, construction updates, and upcoming milestones. At the end of the presentation, we will open it up for questions from management to address. If you are interested in asking a question and are logged into the GoToWebinar app or web platform, you can submit your questions to us directly in the questions module. Please note, this presentation is being recorded today, Wednesday, June 30th, and will soon be made available on the company's website at somagold.com. Lastly, RBMG is not a registered investment advisor or broker-dealer. For more information, please visit rbmilestones.com. It is now our pleasure to introduce you, Geoffrey Hampson. Go ahead, Jeff.
Good morning, everybody. Javier and I are doing this seminar today from the Operadora mine in El Bagre, Colombia. And it's warm and raining here, but everything is moving smoothly and according to plan. We'll give you a bit more of an update on that in a second. I can't seem to change the page. Oh, there we go. Okay. So we'll be making some forward-looking statements and providing you with information. You should take some time to read the legal disclaimer, both on the presentation, but also available on our website. Okay, great, thanks. So a couple of quick highlights on Soma. We're a producing gold miner. We have 2 operating mines currently in Colombia. A third one, Cordero, is coming on stream in September of this year. We'll give you an update on the construction progress there. And we have a very big 30,000 hectare district exploration potential, and we've got a program that's underway right now that, based on our preliminary assessments taken from small miners, existing mines, and some of the drilling that we've done, indicates that there's a good possibility of increasing the resource from 1 to 2 million ounces. That'll probably take 4 or 5 years to get to that, but we're making good progress on every hole that we drill. We're also very active in ESG. We work with the local miners and the government to formalize small miners. What that does is it eliminates the use of mercury, and it brings these miners into the formal economy. In addition, our mine is powered by a run-of-river hydroelectric plant, and so the carbon footprint is very low. We are also backed up by a connection to the grid, so in the event that we need additional power, we have access to it. And we've got a very experienced and proven senior management team, both at the corporate level, but also here at the mine. The team that's managing the mine has been doing so for 10 years, knows it well, have a very, very, very good performance record, and have managed to make a profit for the last 10 years. So maybe at this point I can turn it over to Javier, and he can take you through the plan and the strategy.
Yes, thank you, Jeff. Hello, everybody. So, like Jeff mentioned, we have two mills at our properties in Colombia. The El Bagre mill, where we are right now at the Operadora office. This is a 450 tons per day mill, 100% owned by Soma Gold. And this is also important, it's fully permitted to produce up to 100,000 tons per day, meaning that we can upgrade the mill if we need it with production, and very easily with no additional permits from the government. This mill is right now producing out of 2 mines, La Ye mine and the Cordero mine. Both are right now into production. Tlaye should be depleted by the end of this year, and Mangos will continue to produce through 2022. And the Cordero mine that we're developing, we are going to visit it right after this webinar. It's advancing pretty well, and we should start getting some production in September of 2021. That's the mine that we're going to be producing for the next 5 years with the information that we have right now, but we're still drilling. And there's also the Nechí project and mine that is right now being permitted. Everything is 100% owned by Soma. So our production average right now is about 1,400 ounces of gold per month. Our actual production in 2020 was 17,200 ounces. Our forecast for 2021 should be at around 22,500 ounces. And our forecast for 2022 should be around 30,000 ounces of gold. And we also have the El Limón mill, also 100% owned by and fully permitted, owned by Soma and fully permitted to produce up to 400 tons per day. So meaning that today we have 2 mills with a capacity of 625 tons per day, but that can be fully upgraded to produce 1,400 tons per day. The El Limón mill has the El Limón mine and other small mines that are Jeff mentioned that we are in the process of with the government of formalizing. It's currently on care and maintenance, waiting for an increased feed from Cordero, Nechí, and El Limón mines, so we can get it into production and start it up by the end of 2021. This is our production forecast. Like I mentioned, in 2019, the production was 16,168 ounces. That's the actual production. 2020, 17,170. 2021, we should reach 22,500. 20,000 coming from this operation at the Limón with 3 mines that will be producing by the end of the year, Tlaye, Mangos, and Cordero. And we expect to have to start some production from El Limón and the small mines reaching about 2,500 ounces. And our forecast for 2022 and 2023 should be to have a production higher than 30,000 ounces coming mainly from this operation, from the Cordero operation, and also from the operation at the Limón mine. The average grade that we're mining right now is 4.5 grams per ton, but we should be upgrading that grade to about 6.5 grams per ton once the Cordero mine gets into production. Our projected all-in sustaining cost for 2021, it's at around 1,000 US dollars per ounce. But it should be going down in 2022 to around $850 US dollars per ounce. This mainly because of the higher grade that we're going to be mining. The capacity utilization will increase from the current 52% to about 95% by the end of 2021. And it can be, as I mentioned, it can be easily doubled with all the environmental permits and other licenses in place to go up to 1,400 tons per day, generating approximately 75,000 ounces of gold per year. Our operations today, we have a 43-101 resource estimate of about 200,000 ounces of gold equivalent with 65,000 ounces proven and probable. That gives us about 7 years mine of life. That report was made in 2019, and we're planning to update that report and estimate in Q1 of 2022.
And as I mentioned earlier, our drilling program has been encountering the vein at both depth and on strike in all the areas of our drilling. And so we're very confident that when we get an upgrade to the 43-101 resource, that there'll be quite a bit additional ounces to the 200,000 that we had back in was 221 in 2019. We produced about 25,000 ounces. So it's about 200,000 today, but we expect that to jump up by a pretty big percentage. Also, just to note that as the production goes up and the grade goes up, our costs go down. So it's pretty easy calculation that we generate about $1,000 of Ebitda per ounce going out into 2022 and 2023. And as we get out and we build out the capacity and we increase it to 1,400 tons per day and generate 75,000 ounces per year, the Ebitda per ounce goes up above $1,000 because the cost per ounce goes down.
This is the senior management. Of course, Jeff is our executive chairman. He founded and financed multiple private and public companies since 1979. So he has been an entrepreneur for more than 30 years, very successful in mining, gas, and manufacturing business. A lot of investment experience. He was previously the chairman of Soma Gold, Soma Source Mining. Javier Cordova, the president and CEO of the company. I have experience both in the public and private sector. My background is in corporate finance and business administration. I served at the Ecuadorian government as the Minister of Mining for more than 3 years. In 2019, I was named by Mining Journal as one of the 20 most influential people in mining because of what we achieved at the government in Ecuador, attracting mining investment. And for us and for the company, it's really important the knowledge that I can bring to the company, managing not only the operation here, but also working with the government of Colombia, working with the communities. Greg Hayes is our CFO. As you can see, he's very well experienced in different positions at mining companies all through his career. Yanis Tistos, our independent director, he has been working basically all his life around mining, 12 to 19 years with BHP Billiton, 9 as a senior manager for exploration in 32 countries. Natasha Kierman is also an independent director. He's a lawyer and a consultant with more than 14 years of experience, specializing in transactions involving mining and other natural resources. And she also has held positions at several international law firms, including the New York and London offices of Staten, Harp, Slate, Meher, and Flom. And here in Colombia, one of the reasons that we bought this operation last year was not only because of the operation itself and the resource that we have, but because of management. We have a lot of experienced people working here at the mine that not only knows these operations since the beginning, since they started producing 10 years ago, but knows all the region. Edwin Naranjo is our QP, our main director of geology, where we're focusing. We just hired a new mine manager, Germán Caballero, who has 16 years of experience in underground gold mining, a lot of experience with continental gold. And since we're now mechanizing our mine, he comes also with an operation that mechanize their mine, so that gives us a lot of strength and knowledge from management. This is where we are in Colombia. Definitely Antioquia. It's I would say, the most prolific region in Colombia and one of the most prolific area in the Andean region. In 2019, the gold production in Antioquia was 673,000 ounces of gold, meaning 56% of the national production. More than 50% of the total gold production in Colombia comes from Antioquia, where we are. And if you go farther deeper into Antioquia, 92% of the production in Antioquia comes from the 10 municipalities where we are located, from Nechí to the north to Remedios and Segovia to the south. This district, this mining district, El Bagre, Zaragoza, Remedios, and Segovia, produces 60% of the total gold production in Antioquia. And we are precisely located, one of our operations is near El Bagre, Operadora, where we are right now, and El Limón is located near Zaragoza. So we are in the heart of this significant gold district, and importantly, largely unexplored, with the presence of small artisanal miners in the area. Location and access is very easy to access from Medellin. Medellin is like the biggest city in Colombia, closer to our operation. We have 2 daily flights from Medellin to El Bagre. That's a maybe 25 to 30 minutes flight. So it's very easy to access. There's a 100% paved road that connects Medellin to El Bagre and Zaragoza. For now, that will take about 6 hours driving, but there's a new road that's being built, and that will cut in half the time if you need to drive from Medellin to our locations. And the infrastructure is, we have, Jeff mentioned, 100% electrical power that is being that comes from hydroelectrics, and we are also connected to the national power grid in case we need it. And both of the towns where we're located, El Bagre and Zaragoza, are towns basically that depend on mining. So we have a very important source of very skilled workers that are available for our operations. This is a zoom in of our concessions. If you can see on the left of the chart where it's in yellow, those are the concessions, the titles that Soma owns. That's 29,000 hectares from Nechi to the north, all the way to El Bagre and El Limon to the south. And if you can see to the right, there's a zoom in of the areas where we are. In the highest area, you can see my pointer there, where it says Laye and Mangos in a red star. Those are the two mines that we're mining right now. And Balbina Cordero, a bit to the south, that's the new mine that we are developing right now, and that should start with some production by September of 2021. We have, Jeff mentioned, and I'm also going to go into more details about exploration. We own 2 drill rigs. One of those is right now drilling to the north of Cordero here. And this is where we have one of the mills, the El Bagre, where we are right now. And to the south in this area where Limon is, that's where we have our other mill. And this is where we have right now at Diamantina. Around here is where we have another drill rig right now operating. And all of this area is where we have identified important locations for our drilling program. Limoncito, Cañón de Rojas to the south here. So all of this is a very prospective area that we're focusing right now, and where we plan to grow our resource estimate. Our current operations, again, we're mining out of Laye and Mangos mine here. The Cordero Balbina deposit is the one that we're developing right now, and drilling to the north. We believe that there's Cordero, it's open to the north, and all this station to Mangos, and open also down deep. Our production was 17,000 ounces in 2020. Right now we're producing at an average of 1,400 to 1,500 ounces of gold per month, and this should grow up to 1,800 to 2,000 ounces per month in Q4 in 2021 once Cordero Balbina starts producing. With the resource estimate that we have, our life of mine should be at around 7.3 years, but there's an expansion from exploration that we're planning to grow it to more than 20 years. Again, there's a 43-101 resource estimate of 100,000 ounces at the El Bagre gold mine, over 45,000 meters of diamond drill rigs. Drilling has been made since the last resource estimate. This is why we feel that once we update it in early 2022, this resource should grow in a very important way. And we have exploration targets all through our concessions, not only here at the El Bagre operation, but to Limon and Sara, of about an additional 750,000 ounces by 2024. And there's the Nechi project that is to the north, with a resource estimate of 120,000 ounces of gold. There was a decline was already driven for bulk sampling at that operations, and we have a production plan for 2022 to be milled from Nechi to El Bagre. That's where we're getting all the permits right now. The summary of our 43-101 that was made and updated in May of 2020, 221,000 ounces. Out of those, approximately 21,000 ounces have already been mined, so about 200,000 ounces right now. Proven and probable 60,000 ounces of gold, measured and indicated with an additional 160,000 ounces. And recent drilling indicates that there's a case here, a northern extension to the Cordero Balbina and a southern extension of the El Limon deposit. This is the Cordero mine, what we're developing right now. There's two access. This is the main access point that we're going to visit right after our webinar. This is called Phoenix, and this is called the Athena Porta. So this is being mechanized. This is being built with a jumbo, and we're going to access two different points, one to level 2 and one to level 3 of the ore body. And the third decline is coming here at Athena to access also level 3. This is a picture of the Cordero Phoenix decline access, and this is what that deposit looks like right now, and this is the northern extension that we're drilling.
So at the current rate of construction for the Phoenix ramp and the Athena decline, we will be into the ore body and mining some ore probably by the end of July, but there's still a bit of development work to open up the stopes. So we're anticipating that we'll be actually mining ore in September, but we've made very good progress and are very close to being completed.
This is a picture of both of our mills. The upper picture is the El Bagre mill, and the lower picture is the El Limon mill right now in care and maintenance. 450 tons per day right now is the capacity of El Bagre mill. Current production is running at approximately 350 tons per day. And once Cordero and the Chi mines are producing, the Limon mill will be restarted to have a combined capacity of 675 tons per day. Security is very important for us in all of the aspects. So both of the facilities has excellent physical security. We have a formal agreement with the Colombian Army, so we can have always a squad present at our operations. There's a complete battalion of the Army 10 minutes from where we are. So we have a lot of support from them. And also all of our gold, our doré bars are transported to the refinery by helicopter. We have a helipad here at our operation, so the helicopter will lands here at our operation and takes the doré bars directly to the refinery in Medellin. Both operations, El Bagre and El Limon, are adjacent. The mills are 10 kilometers apart. The journey by car takes about 40 minutes. Yesterday we made a helicopter flight, and with helicopter it's about 4 minutes flight from the mill of El Limon to the mill of El Bagre. So it shows how close they are. And that's also very important and efficient for us. Combined capacity is 675 tons per day today, but it's fully permitted to grow to 1,400 tons per day.
Just as an issue on security, yesterday when we landed at the site on the helicopter pad is sort of elevated. And as we came in to land, there were 4 or 5 camouflaged, heavily armed military guys that kind of came out of the bushes that were there to protect us and the mill. So I think the security here is excellent.
And we also have a private security company that operates at our location here at El Bagre and El Limon. So security is very important for us. And exploration and resource expansion also, that's the future for the company. We own 2 drill rigs, and we have a fully funded regional exploration program of 26,000 meters of annual drill. This is fully funded from operations, meaning we don't need to go to the market or raise money in order for our exploration plan to work. The company has a plan, a 4-year plan, $10 million program that will be funded out of cash flow for exploration. All permittings are also in place for immediate exploration in all of our 29,000 hectares. Our team has identified targets for an additional 750,000 ounces of gold based on small miners working and previous drilling. So with that additional ounces and with the ounces that we have with a 43-101, we believe that we can easily go over 1 million ounces of resource in all of our properties. Our all-in drilling cost with the in-house drills is less than $60 per meter. So as you can see, it's very low if you compare it to the usual cost if you hire an exploration company. And in 2021, there's a $2.6 million program for exploration that is fully funded from operations, targeting 240,000 ounces of gold at an average of 8.2 grams per ton. This is the El Limon portfolio, the other asset that we have. The El Limon and small mines will supply the ore for the El Limon mill. As you can see here where my pointer is, this is the El Limon mine. This is a mine that has produced for the last 50 years. And it's open down deep and open to the south. And these other operations, Renacera, Lacran, and Diamantina, are small operations from the formalized miners that we're working with the government. At Diamantina here, this operation is right now producing. And from El Limon to Diamantina, this is a 2-kilometer strand. We believe that El Limon mine is open to the south all the way to Diamantina and maybe farther than that. But our focus right now is to explore here from El Limon to Diamantina, and we also believe it's open down deep.
Go back one slide. So this core that you see, the core in both the pictures, that in the core box and the piece that's being held, that's from the drill rig at Diamantina. So that's at depth. So what that shows us is we know what the small miner has been mining at the surface, but we have verified that there's very high grade material at depth, and it hasn't been looked at on strike, even though it's on strike to the other mines that are in the region. So we feel very good about the prospects here. We'll start increasing the drilling on the Alacran Diamantina trend and towards the end of this year, and into next year it'll become more of a priority.
So that core that Jeff mentioned came from around here. That drill rig is drilling Diamantina down deep. So it's from level 1 of Diamantina is about 100 meters depth. So it's very encouraging for us. Again, we believe that the Limon mine is open to the south in these 2 kilometers trend and down deep. So lots of still of material to be found.
And just the historical grade for the El Limon mine over the 25 years that or been mined longer than that, but for 25 years of the records that we have, the average grade is about 22 grams per ton. So this is a very rich vein, and we have high hopes that it continues. So when we look at the comparables, and these numbers are off a little bit just because the stock price has changed since we put the chart together, but this is as of June 16th. What you can see is when we look at other small producers and compare it to Soma, you can see pretty clearly that we're very undervalued by most all of the metrics. The one that seems to be looked at more closely than others is the enterprise value to Ebitda, which is the last column. Soma is trading at a enterprise value to Ebitda of 1.7 times. It's actually probably a little bit less than that today, whereas the average is 17.34, and we are, of these comps, we are the lowest. So as we build out the resource and we prove that we can increase production, which will be in the next quarter or two, we hope that we'll start to see some movement on our valuation. And I think in whole, I mean, this is a pretty compelling story. I mean, we're trading at less than 1 times our 2022 projected Ebitda, and actually less than 1 times projected 2022 free cash flow. So the opportunity here from an investment perspective is very, very good. We'll move our life of mine out. We'll move the resource out. We'll probably expand capacity, and I think that this mine has a multi-year potential to generate significant cash, and that based on our projections, by the end of 2022, we should be able to reduce our debt, if not completely eliminate it. So right now we're operating at a profit. We're investing heavily into construction at Cordero, and also into exploration. But we're also repaying the gold loan that we got to buy the Operadora mine at an accelerated rate, and so cash flow is going to improve dramatically by the end of the year as we finish up construction and pay off that first tranche of the high cost debt. So I think that lots of good things to look forward to, and we're delivering on all of our KPIs. We're a little bit behind schedule on the construction. That was mostly due to equipment issues with our subcontractor, but we've overcome those. We're now back on pace, and we expect to see the results of that shortly. I mean, within the next couple of months. So I think a very good good story. The main shareholders own about 68% of the company. We have invested at a cost that is higher than the market today. We're long-term shareholders. We expect to see quite a bit of value both in cash flow generation and also on the equity market. So we're committed to returning capital to the shareholders, potentially by way of dividends and our normal course issuer bids. So as I mentioned, the share price today I think is 29 cents. It gives us a market cap of about 18 million Canadian dollars, enterprise value of around $32 million. We've got 63 million shares outstanding. There are 44 million warrants outstanding, but only 30 million of those are in the money at under $1.50 a share. And 70% of those are owned by my partner Glenn and myself. And so the shares are in good hands. There's only 3.5 million options out, which is less than 5% of the company on a fully diluted basis. And so as I mentioned before, management owns 68.2%. So again, undervalued. When you look at the comps, we are, I think, well positioned for some significant capital gains here for investors as we start to deliver on the near-term production plan. And that's it. Let us know if there's any questions.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Again, if you are interested in asking a question and are logged into the GoToWebinar app or web platform, please submit your questions to us directly in the questions module, as you have been doing during the webinar presentation here, so I will get right to it. First question received here. What market conditions would make Soma invest a 15 million capex to expand to 1,400 TBD? Do you have a timeline for that?
I'll take that one. It's going to be pure economics as we build out the resource and increase the sources of feed. Then I think that the decision to expand the capacity is going to be pretty easy. There are a number of different factors, and one of them is, do we expand both El Limón and El Bagre, or do we just expand El Bagre? And it really is going to depend on the economics. I mean, we have considerable amount of resource up at Nechi, and as we start, to build out the 43-101 resource and develop a mine plan for those resources, then we'll very easily be able to figure out what makes sense. And so I expect that decision will be sometime, the first time that we'll sort of be able to make that decision will be sometime towards the end of next year, with an expansion in 2023, 2024.
All right, thanks, Jeff. These next two questions I'm going to combine here. Please can you give us some color on your outstanding debt, and will there be any private placements in the next 12 months?
Sure. So we have a gold loan that was original value of $5 million. We've paid off about 2.5 million of that, more or less, as of right now. We're paying it back pretty quickly. At 12% of gold production goes to pay down the loan. Towards the end of, sometime in Q4, that goes down to 6% of production, and then by the end of 2022, it'll be paid off in full. And the other debt is a loan that was made by the shareholders, by the major shareholders. That currently is a 10-year loan with a 4-year grace period from the beginning of last year. So we've got that. The payments don't have to be made until 2025, but it's likely that we will accelerate that. That is about $21 million Canadian, and so 16 or 17 million US, and we expect to generate between $25 and $30 million of Ebitda next year So even when we pay off the balance of the gold loan, we still will be able to take a good chunk out of the long-term loan and expect to be able to pay that back relatively quickly. Probably by the middle of 2023, it'll be paid off in full, and then we'll be accumulating cash. I mean, we don't have major capex planned other than the mill expansion, but that will be a different issue. Private placement, no plans for a private placement. We don't need the money.
Thanks, Jeff. Staying with the balance sheet, can you specify the strike prices and expiration dates for the warrants?
The majority of them, yes. The 30 million warrants are at 25 cents, and they expire, I believe it's in July of next year. But as I said, out of the 30 million warrants, 20 million plus a bit are owned by Glenn and me.
Thanks. On slide 16, you talk about returning capital to shareholders by way of dividends. You also talk about, on slide 13, about funding exploration through cash flow. What would the gold production rate, assuming today's production costs, have to be for the company to issue dividends?
Well, we just reviewed the new mine plan yesterday, and it looks like we'll be producing somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 ounces per month for all of 2022, 23, and 24. And then we're still working on future. But at that rate, we're talking about 25 to 30 million dollars worth of cash flow. And once the debt is paid off, the capital will be used for expansion or potentially returned to the shareholders in the way of dividends. And I think, since Glenn and I own the majority of the company and have invested the majority of the money, it's not unreasonable for us to expect to get some sort of a return on that capital. And so some modest dividend is likely in the works.
Thanks for that. Now, I received a number of questions on Colombia there, so I will try here to combine some of them together that might make sense. Do you have an update on your plans outside of Colombia? And what are you doing to utilize the cash flow to expand outside of Colombia?
Well, we're always looking for new projects. Right now, we're focused in Colombia in our operations, getting Cordero into production. We have almost 30,000 hectares of land, like I said, in a very prolific area in Colombia and in the Andean region, where we're focused our exploration. Again, we're always looking at projects at Ecuador. I'm Ecuadorian, and I still believe that Ecuador is a largely underexplored country with lots of opportunities. We've looked to a couple of projects in Peru. We are very focused on the Andean region. So we're always looking. There's nothing specific or advanced in those areas, but we're really open to that. And of course, with depending on our cash flow position, if some of the opportunities comes and we believe that will be add value to our investors, we will certainly take a serious look into acquiring some additional operation or looking for a joint venture or something. So we're always looking. We don't have there's nothing like specific that we have engaged now, but there's a couple of options that we're analyzing.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, Jeff, do you have some to add?
Yeah, just to add to that, we have certain criteria that we need to meet in order for us to look at new opportunities. And we probably looked at, in the last year, maybe 30 different projects, and really only one project has met all of the criteria. And we're in discussions with them, but the challenge is always going to be valuation. And at the present time, because Soma is so undervalued, it's very difficult for us to use shares for a transaction. But we do have some cash, and we're willing to exercise our warrants early if there's the right opportunity. So I think there's there's a possibility that we could do something, but we're not in any rush. We want to really focus on maximizing production and profitability at our Colombian operation.
Okay, and moving on here and sticking to Colombia, what is the current risk assessment with the political situation in Colombia? If you could add any thoughts on that. And do you feel this is already factored into the share price?
Well, I mean, I would say that there's always, from the investor's point of view, there's always risk in Latin American countries, not only in Colombia. You can see in Chile, for example, I know that a very good friend of mine who's actually maybe listening to this webinar, Jerónimo Cancelera, a very well-known lawyer in Chile, is having actually today a webinar on political risk in Chile. So I'm mentioning that because Chile has been known historically, I think, for being a very stable politically and economical country and location for mining. And right now they're facing a lot of challenges with the new constitution that is going to be written. You have the case in Peru also of a mining country by excellence, one of the main producers of copper, of gold, and silver in the world, also facing some political issues with the new presidential election. Ecuador was kind of similar recently. And in Colombia, I won't say it's the exception, but I think that this is a location where you can have, where the government really understands about the foreign investment, that they understand that they need to have a stable policy and stable code in order to get that investment. We've been challenging, of course, we've been facing some challenges, of course, in the last, I would say, month and a half with some strikes. Fortunately, that hasn't really affected our operations. We haven't had any kind of delays or important delays in our operations due to these political issues. But I think that those issues and politicals are going to be faced everywhere, not only in the Latin American countries. You see the same in France, you see the same in Spain, and actually in the US. So this is a challenge, and this is where we need to be very smart, not only as Soma Gold, but as a mining industry, to really understand the needs of the people. I think that if we combine our needs as a company with the needs of the communities that are around our operations, that will definitely help us, because they will be the first one, as they do right now, the first as to support. So again, I'm not like really concerned with the political issues in Colombia. Actually, fortunately, for the last couple of weeks, things have been much more calm for us. The government has stated that mining is a priority for them. With COVID, for example, mining didn't stop in Colombia because it was named like an essential sector for the economy. So we have been producing, and this hasn't affected us a lot. And if I think that the share price it reflects this kind of risk, maybe in a way that we are also being like punished by the market because we are in Colombia. But again, you have very important operations here in Colombia, big companies. Recently, Glencore just acquired a complete participation in the main gold mine here in Colombia. So I think that this is a very good location to invest, and in Latin America we need to learn how to manage this kind of political turmoils.
Yeah, and thank you, Javier, for that very detailed explanation. I think it's very helpful for everybody to hear that. Someone stated during the presentation, one of our attendees here, it is difficult in markets, for markets, to get excited about a single mine, even if you have several deposits. Perhaps you can share your thoughts on that.
I mean, we're looking, we own 30,000 hectares of land. And most of them, out of the 29,000 hectares, 24,000 hectares haven't been really explored. So what we're looking is precisely that. We're right now mining out of 2 mines. A third mine is being open, but we have a property in the Chi to the north with more than 120,000 ounces of gold in a resource estimate. We haven't drilled. We just started drilling last year at all of our 23, not all, but at the Sara properties where we have 23,000 hectares. So of course that our idea for the future is to be mining out of here in Colombia. If you take into consideration Cordero, Nechi, we have these core samples are from Diamantina down deep. There we're just talking about 3 different mines, very, very far away from each other. So we believe that we can easily in the next couple of years have at least 3, 4, or 5 mines here in the district that we have. And again, we're always looking for opportunities in the Andean region where we can expand and where we can also de-risk our operations.
And I think that this deposit, we have, I think, 14 kilometers along the O2 Valley, which is a major fault system, which has gold all the way along that fault system. And that goes all the way down into to where Gran Colombia has their mine, which I think is 6 million ounces or something like that. And so the way this deposit has been formed is that there's a series of parallel veins that run roughly north-south, but it's been fractured and a lot of these blocks have moved east and west. So it's often more economical to open up a new portal into these veins that have moved rather than having one continuous underground operation. So in reality, this is all one big deposit, but the best way to access it is through these declines that we are building on separate mines. So Laye, Mangos, Cordero, Limon, Limoncita, Diamantina, Alacran, I mean, all of these mines that are on the property are essentially the same system, but it hasn't been drilled. And so we know that the gold is there. It's a matter of figuring out what the lithology is so that we can properly map it and then put a mine plan together.
All right, thanks. So we have received one more question, and before we close here, what percentage of the gold is gravity separated? Can you tell us anything about that?
I can. Yeah. I mean, there are different parts of the deposit that have different characteristics. For instance, at the El Limon mine, we were getting about 15% of the gold through gravity in a series of jigs and shaker tables. But at El Bagre and the Mangos and Laye mine, there's very little free gold. So we do have a gravity separation circuit to pick up that free gold, but it's in the single-digit percentages in terms of total gold. 3%, maybe 3%.
Thank you, guys, and thanks everyone for joining today's webinar. Again, today's webinar recording will soon be made available on the Soma Gold website at somagoldcorp.com. If you have any additional questions that have not been addressed on this webinar, please feel free to email us at soma@rbamilestone.com. Again, that's soma@rbamilestone.com. Thank you again. You are now free to disconnect.